Calendar blocking is my favorite way to stay productive both in my work and in my life. But there are a few rules I have to have in place so that it stays productive and doesn't just become another thing on the calendar. All appointments belong on their own special day. This is what we call batching. If I'm filming, I'm often filming lots of things in the same space of time. It might be a video here, an Instagram reel there, maybe I'll even live stream. Let's get the most out of the makeup. You might have different kinds of batching in your life, but I like to know what day I typically do most things. I'm not much for filming on a Monday. I'm much more likely to write. And I need to do a little bit of admin, just kind of check up from things that may have happened over the weekend. So Mondays, I never schedule any external appointments, and I know that I need to focus on getting whatever writing projects need to be done or checking email. Filming is usually on Tuesdays because the content is very fresh in my mind from writing on Mondays. Anytime I have any beauty or doctor's appointments, things that are typically personal but need to happen out and about, I like to book those for mid to late week. So when I'm in the office, scheduling my next appointment, I know to look at Wednesday or later. When I schedule coaching calls has to do with what's happening in the program that I'm running at that time. And it usually is Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, which is also why if I need to take a business call, like a conference call or some kind of a strategy call with a client, a partner, those are always gonna be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I just don't have the bandwidth on a Monday when I'm focused on writing or Tuesday when I'm focused on filming. Next, no more than 3 blocks per day. This is actually even more ambitious than I need to be right now because I also have a little one at home with me. Now, she sleeps a lot, so I get a lot done at this stage, at this season of her life. But there's no way that I can put more than 3 blocks on the calendar because it's very unlikely I'm gonna complete 2. just to make sure I'm doing my absolute best work at all times, I need to assume I'm gonna get 2 out of 3. So what are the most important ones? Let's schedule those first. And then the least important one that's most likely to get rescheduled, that will be last. And then if I get extra time, I finish things early on, then I will proceed with that 3rd block. But basically, when you think about a block on the calendar, let's say it's holding 2, 3, maybe 4 hours, depends on your day. Mine are usually 2 to 3, depends on the project. I will start that first block at 9 a.m. Starts at 9, ends at 12. If that block is to write content, then all of the writing assignments that I have for that day are going to be in that block. The likelihood I have more than 1 or 2, very, very slim, because getting really good writing done in 3 hours is a stretch. Fortunately, what I'm writing for is video. So I'm writing something that I'm gonna be reading and saying authentically. Like I'm not reading a script right now, I'm talking to you, but I wrote something for this. So I can usually batch a few of those into a 2 to 3 hour block. Hopefully, I'm so efficient and firing at all creative cylinders that I get it done in an hour and then I get extra time. But that block of 3 hours is there. If I start late, it's interrupting the block of 3 hours. I can't shift it down. I can't move into the next block. So if I have 3 blocks, 9 to noon, noon to 3, 3 to 6, then that is the max for the day. I need to check out. And I really don't want anything going until 6. It's rare that I'll have a 3 hour block that late. It would depend on what's going on. And if it's that late, it should have been scheduled earlier in the day if I really needed 3 hours for something. So I'm more likely to be 9 to noon, noon to 2, 2 to 4. And that's it. 3 blocks for the day. Get what you can done. My next rule is kind of new because I've become a huge fan of the sponsor of this segment of the video, and that is AccuFlow. My rule is that I no longer calendar block on Google Calendar. I know that's crazy because typically if I have shared calendar blocking content on this channel, I have showed you Google Calendar. But I found that I was putting so much information there that I was missing some other really important stuff. Because you guys know me, I'm a one-track mind. I see the work I have to do and it's all I see, and then I'll miss a phone call somehow. And it's just like, okay, you can't have too much. AccuFlow is an intuitive time blocking platform that streamlines the task scheduling process. What I love about AccuFlow is I can go there very intentionally, see all of my important appointments, but also be wearing the hat of, okay, how am I gonna work with this schedule and the things I have to do? I'm typically blocking 1 to 2 days in advance. Not much further than that, unless I have a huge presentation coming up that I know I need to block off a lot of time to work on in the future for a gig, speaking somewhere, or whatever. Most of the time, what I'm blocking is only a couple of days in advance because things change. You have to be able to pivot. And so I need a tool like AccuFlow that lets me look at, okay, what are my latest tasks that I've added? What are the projects? Where are we at with those projects? So that I can schedule the blocks of time accordingly accordingly with what else I have going on. If you're watching this video, you already know how much we love time blocking around here. Calendar blocking is so helpful for staying focused on what your priorities are. And AccuFlow knows how important this strategy is because their entire interface is based on making you successful with time blocking. The reason why AccuFlow is so great is because of how many integrations it has. So no matter what you're using for task management, if you're like me, I like TickTick. If you like Todoist, if you're using something else. And then of course, project management platforms, something like Trello, or if you're communicating via Slack with a team. And of course, Notion, Asana, ClickUp, like you name it, there are so many platforms out there. If there's not a direct way to integrate with the platform, then AccuFlow allows you to leverage IFTTT to smartly integrate whatever you do use so that all of your tasks are in one place and you can figure out how to block them on your schedule accordingly. This is the main thing. We can't have all these things in their own silos and expect to be productive. Just like you need to kind of have like a weekly download of all the things that happened and anything new that popped up, AccuFlow lets you do that as you're also planning for your upcoming time and how you're going to spend it. And where we do not have time to spare, we need a platform that understands that and doesn't let anything fall through the cracks. So when I'm doing task planning on AccuFlow, I've usually already done my prioritization for the upcoming days that I'm looking at. And then I'm gonna look for the tasks that are by far the most important or fit with the rules of my blocking, like, is this a day for filming, or is this a day for writing, or is this a day for calls? And I will start to plot them accordingly. When you try AccuFlow, I want you to first start by integrating your calendar. So if it's Google Calendar, have them start talking to each other and just look at your schedule there in the interface so you can see, okay, if I were to be able to block out all of the time that I know I'm not available, I can do that here. See how many hours are left in the day and what's possible with that time. The biggest mistake most of us make is not realizing how easily the time we do have available falls away to the little things. But when you see it there and the white space just says, oh, are you awake during this hour? Then what could you be doing? And start thinking about how you can leverage that time better. AccuFlow is like playing the game of how can I make the most of my time? Color coordinating it, getting the tasks and the projects that mean a lot to you, plotting them there and seeing the possibilities. It's super easy to get started. Check out the link in the description below. They even offer an onboarding call. So if you want to talk to someone one-on-one and ask them about all of the different amazing features that they have, you can do that for free. But my calendar blocking has been seriously upgraded by AccuFlow. I love it and I highly recommend you check it out. Check the link in the description down below so that you can try AccuFlow today. Next, focus mode on. Okay, it's filming day, right? Clearly. And I have do not disturb on. I actually have a couple of different focus modes on my phone for different reasons. Usually during the day, I named it. It's called husband only mode because I need to be able to hear from my husband if he's getting a hold of me so his texts and his calls can come through. But also my child's childcare center, they can ring through to me at any time. And so when I'm not filming, that's usually the mode that I have on because those are the only people who can interrupt me when I'm in the middle of doing something. Because I usually shoot for only about 20 to 30 minutes at a time, I have complete do not disturb mode on because we don't need any vibrations on the microphone, okay? It drives me crazy. Just because you have something blocked on the calendar doesn't mean you are focused on it. You need to environmentally recognize what is gonna support you. So I am never down here unless I'm filming. I also sit at a certain desk upstairs when I'm writing. I sit somewhere else entirely if I'm editing some video. There's so many different ways that I have to manipulate my environment, including focus mode, that helps me get into the zone of what I have to do. If I were to start editing a video on my kitchen island, which happens to be pretty good for standing and doing, I would start doing dishes. I would start finding other things I gotta do. I would hear the doorbell ring and I would go check. And then it would probably be my groceries. And then I would unload my groceries. If you do not check your environment, focus mode on is very easy for that calendar block to slip away. And finally, blocks need to end an hour before my family is getting home for the day. This doesn't always work out, but I at least try to plan accordingly. I want my last block of the day to end at 4 o'clock. It's usually 4:30 and sometimes it runs over to 5. But the block on the calendar stops at 4. I want to plan to be done by that time so that I have roughly 30 minutes of overflow if something needs to get wrapped up quickly, but I'm not still working when my kid walks in the door. I'm not still working when my husband's coming home and we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do for dinner. I need to be present for that moment. The only way I can do that is to stay focused during the hours the rest of the day that I have to do the other things I have to do. If something doesn't get done by that time and it's a hard deadline, it's rough. It is rough. I tell myself all the time, oh, I'll work after the kids go to sleep. My mind is tired, my body is tired, and I want to lay down and probably watch The Real Housewives. I know when my blocks need to end. I know how my focus needs to be, when it needs to be, when I'm at optimal levels. Because if I try to tell myself I'm gonna do it at a later hour when I am depleted of energy, I am kidding myself. I'm also very fortunate that I'm not side hustling. There's a lot of people that probably struggle with this because they have to figure out, I'm gonna work this full-time job, but I'm also starting something else. So I need to find time in the morning, I need to find time in the evening, maybe on the weekends. If you have a family, it's harder and harder. This is why you need tools like AccuFlow, because it is so important to see where are the hours and what is the likelihood we're gonna be able to set it up for success to be able to follow through. Where will I be? How will I have focus mode on? What will I be doing? What's the likelihood I'll get it done in that space of time? You only know that by doing the work more regularly. And so having those tools is great, but then doing as much as you can to be honest with yourself about how you're gonna do in that space of time, that's another thing altogether. Those are my calendar blocking rules for success. I'd love to hear if you have any, leave them in the comments down below. Or if you have questions about calendar blocking, I'd love to see those as well to see if we can do a follow-up video. Thanks again to AccuFlow for sponsoring this video. If you wanna get started with them when you time batch and calendar block, the link's in the description, and I'll see you on the next one.